big bag of money that was held in front of the health department's noses to say, you know, this is how you're going to operate. Part of that was for infant maternal health. What works in Indianapolis does not work in South Bend. What works in Muncie does not work in South Bend. What happens in Walkerton doesn't necessarily happen in South Bend. You have to have local control of your needs and wants for that health care. And honestly, this is actually one of the areas where I'm happy with what the St. Joe Health Department has done so far and being able to focus some of that money on infant mortality and specific demographics and segments of the population that have increased health risk factors.
Thank you. Heidi Beidinger.
So I served on the Board of Health for the St. Joseph County Health Department for 7 years, 3 of which I served as the president. So I'm well versed in infant and maternal mortality and morbidity in the state of Indiana and St. Joe County. There is so much that we can do to improve this, and it's so easy. Other states are already doing it. Providing care, high quality care, affordable care is job number 1. We need to be talking about prevention. I do need to have a little moment here though about the health department and the comments about all the funding that the legislature appropriated to the health departments. Do we know why they appropriated all those dollars? It's because they've been starving the health departments for decades. I was there watching the cuts over and over and over again. It was that the governor recognized that infant mortality was so awful that he's like, we have to do something to turn this around, because it was an embarrassment, not to mention completely horrific and immoral.
Thank you.
Quick promote. $225 million is what ended up going to new health department from Holcomb's ask of $365 million. How much of that was based off of infant mortality? I don't think any of it was based off of infant mortality. It was about control. Holcomb didn't like how the COVID regulations rolled out during that time period, and he wanted more control that the health departments could force compliance with the local population.
Yeah, that's not exactly right. I was the president of the Board of Health. I actually was there during COVID when everything was happening. This money was appropriated because our health departments, our public health outcomes are so poor. Infant mortality is used as a metric around the globe as an indicator of your healthcare system. If you have a really high infant mortality rate, it means that your healthcare system is not good. And so this was a huge embarrassment. In fact, Governor Holcomb had initiated this whole thing of we're going to be the best in the Midwest, failed to achieve that. He wanted to reverse infant mortality, failed to achieve that. But that's why he put that money there. It wasn't about COVID, that's for days we could talk about. But number 1, it was this embarrassment about infant mortality rates in the state of Indiana.
Melissa Kauffman.
Well, I'm going to start by rebutting some of that because I find it very ironic that she stated for decades they were starving the health department, which I will agree with that part. It would be very suspicious that for decades we starved them. We had no problem with that infant mortality rate. We had no problem with the health department not getting what they needed. But as soon as don't interrupt me, please do not. I find it very suspicious that once COVID hit, we wanted to use that as the excuse to allocate those dollars. I think there was more to it than just infant mortality. I think COVID did play a part in it. Whether they both did is very possible as well, but we can't ignore the fact that COVID did play a part in that. It's that simple. Back to the original question, which was what?
That Indiana rates very poorly when it comes to maternal and infant health. What, if anything, can the legislature do about this problem? And how important is women's health and women's rights to your platform?
I believe women's rights is very important. but I also do not agree that legislature and making laws is the best way to address it. Communities individually know better what they need. If we offer the resources, if we offer the programs, we don't need legislator to step in and make laws mandating that a person go use them. If they are made available and we make people aware of what is available, let them choose whether or not they want to use those resources. We don't need laws to make that happen.
I certainly have never advocated for mandatory health care.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to do the next question in 30 seconds because
I'm
then
sorry.
we need to move to.
That's all right. I mean, I don't want to. Can I just say the one small thing, and that is, I think I sort of took a Leon Smith approach to this. So I'm going to let my nerd flag fly because I realize we have some really talented people on this stage. I studied chemistry and physics in undergrad. I looked at the numbers, and this should be surprising to nobody. Our infant mortality, or sorry, our motherhood and infant mortality problem is a largely racial problem. And we have not yet addressed that at all.
Elephant in the room.
White women in Indiana have similar outcomes to national averages, whereas black women and Hispanic women in our state have almost twice the poor health outcome. So when we say we want to address the issue of infant mortality, what we need to address is the issue of racial disparity in healthcare in our state.
I second that.
Thank you. Okay, last question, talking about healthcare and medicine, which is related to healthcare. Should Indiana decriminalize or legalize marijuana for medicinal purposes? Which one, decriminalize or legalize or neither for medicinal purposes? And if you wish, you may address your, indicate whether it should be decriminalized or legalized for recreational purposes as well. Tim Wesco, 30 seconds.
Decriminalize, absolutely. So as far as medical purposes go, that is a decision between a patient and their doctor. If medical cannabis is a potential treatment option, why is the legislator, why are other people getting involved in a doctor-patient decision? They should absolutely stay out of it. As far as recreational use, it needs to be treated the same way as alcohol. You know, if you cause harm or you're under the influence and cause harm to somebody else, you should be held responsible to that. But if you're doing it in the safety of your own home and you're not affecting anybody else, why is it anybody's business what you're doing this?
So, full-on legalization or decriminalizing enough fines?
Full legalization and treated the same way as alcohol.
Heidi Beidinger.
It's a simple answer, decriminalize and fully, we need to have marijuana as for medicinal, and I think it should be available recreationally. You know, you've already stated the reasons that we need to do that. There's also an economic argument to be made. We're losing money to other states because people are going out of state to get that. So I see it as an economic issue as well.
Charlie Florance.
I started the Indiana Whiskey Company. We sell 30,000, 40,000 bottles of whiskey a year. And I feel it's a huge distinction between drinking a bottle. The bottle of whiskey is delicious. So. But decriminalization is my position. I think some of these rules are just old-fashioned. And I don't think they represent the real will of the people. I think most people don't want the laws that criminalize everyday activities or things that are
Melissa Kauffman.
Well, again, hot topic there. I'm not opposed to decriminalizing it. My only concern is as they pointed out, we need to treat it like alcohol. And I think we can learn from the states who have already decriminalized it to see what were the issues they had and be prepared for those in advance. And one of the concerns I've had, and I actually discussed this with one of our state senators currently, We do not have a scientifically accepted in the courts process of determining when an individual is considered impaired when driving on marijuana. Until we can establish an acceptable method in the courts, how would you then, in the same way alcohol as a drunk driver is punished for causing an accident, how would we then hold someone on marijuana accountable? I'd like to see decriminalized, but with some information to go with it to better manage how we do that.
Thank you. Leanne Smith.
I support full legalization for all adults 21 and older. Yeah, I think we should actually try to legalize it before the federal government does, if at all possible, because if we do that, then there's a chance that we might actually have some amount of a growing industry, and not just sales in Indiana. If the federal government legalizes it and then we legalize it, I don't think we're ever going to see marijuana growing companies operate in Indiana. You're never going to see that investment here.
Thank you. Now we come to 30-second pitches to tell you why they deserve your vote on or before Election Day. We start first with Heidi Beidinger, Democrat, District 5.
So you've heard the things that I stand for. I want to tell you that Indiana, we have a lot going wrong. We have overemphasized businesses and big corporations, and we've given a lot away, And what's happened is that we've left families behind, and we need to bring that balance back. This is why we have to invest in education, healthcare, environment, all the things that we've all been talking about. My opponent votes against those things time and time again. And he gets in because he's gerrymandered in. And I'm saying it's time for a change. And I represent that change, and I want to be your representative. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlie Florance.
I'm currently the only candidate for a legislature in the state that wants to bring direct democracy and not representative democracy to the state legislature. I think the voice of the people has been ignored for too long, and I think we'll find that we agree on plenty more than we don't once that voice is heard.
Melissa Kauffman, House District 21.
Boy, putting myself into a 30-second box is really difficult, so I'm going to talk fast. First of all, a vote for me is not for me, because I want to represent you guys. I want to be the voice that goes down there and says, no, my constituents said this. This is their concerns. This is their desires. So voting for me is voting for yourself. Give us an opportunity to change what District 21 stands for, because currently the representative in District 21 does not represent you. 100% of his donations to his campaign are from big business and the utility company, and he sits on the utility committee. Where do you think your voice stands in there?
And Leanne Smith.
I'm a big believer in the inductive attitude, which consists of largely being willing to change your mind about most anything, and then also not changing your mind just for the sake of passion, but because you actually have a reason to change your mind, and finally, to change your mind, to be honest and not stick to things that you believe just because they're your beliefs. And so I will bring excellence to math education here in Indiana. I will help build a Democratic Party that's viable everywhere, and that's why I would like to have your vote on November 5th.
Thank you very much. Let's have a round of applause for all of our... Oh, yeah.
I see how
We see you. Tim, show them up.
Go ahead.
All right, what makes me different? Technical expertise, military discipline, yeah, those certainly set me apart, but it's my unwavering belief in the power of community and love for Indiana. I went away, I came back, I live here And it's about serving you and serving Indiana. It's not about us. It's about a commitment to quality over quantity, on thoughtful solutions instead of quick fixes and putting Hoosiers first. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just want to say, for those of you who might be wondering what districts these are, some of you have heard that. If we can't change our slide, we can look through the districts. District 5, where Heidi Beidinger is running as a Democrat against Republican Dale Devon. In District 6, House District 6, Charlie Florance is running against incumbent Democrat Maureen Bauer. Melissa Kauffman, House District 21, is running against Republican Tim Wesco. Senate District 8, challenger Leon Smith is running against Mike Bohacek. And in Senate District 10, challenger Tim Cotton is running against Senator David Niezgodski. So some of you will be familiar with those incumbent names, and you've heard a variety of opinions tonight about why they think there should be change in those offices, and we thank everybody for sharing their opinions, you for being here and coming out to listen. Let's give them a big round of applause.